Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Fantasy Show, brought to you by Over the Bar, checking in for match week 15 fantasy hints and tips this morning. Joined, for the last time for 2024 by Rune. How are you doing over on your end, getting ready for Christmas?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to the last Matchday, and especially the Bayern game. And hopefully there will be a nice run of games, and then we can all relax a bit and enjoy the festive period with the family.
Very much so, yeah, absolutely. So yes, we shall do this dance one last time for all our lovely viewers. We'll get stuck into it. Just before we do, let us just do the usual little odds and bods of admin. If you can find it in your hearts to like the show, comment along once people get into the stream, subscribe, and of course turn on notifications. Make sure you do the right thing and follow Bulinews over on all social media channels, whether that's X or Blue Sky. You can find them at bulinews.com, and of course find them online as well by putting it into your search engine. And of course you can find us on socials as well. Right, so let's get started with defenders. As per, we'll take questions as and when they come in. I know there's been one or two on X already, so we'll come back to those as and when. But Rune, do you want to just kickstart us with your 3 defender picks, and we shall go from there?
Yeah. First budget pick in defense is Nathaniel Brown from Frankfurt. No real surprise there, but at the moment I'm really struggling to find someone else at that price who offers the same kind of potential and output fantasy-wise. He scored again last week, so he's now on 3 goals and 2 assists in 7 Bundesliga games. So yeah, talk about a breakthrough there, and a lot to start for Eintracht, and just think he's the best budget defender right now. He actually offers a lot at a low price. So what's not to like? And then a bit of a surprising pick maybe for some, but went with Maximilian Vitek as my mid-price pick this week. He's actually a bit expensive, I think, given he's a Bochum player. But this game is so important for Bochum against Heidenheim at home. It's basically a 6-pointer for both teams. So will be really interesting to see how that'll go. I think Vitek is one of the players to get if you believe Bochum could get a result. He's a set-piece taker and playing in an attacking wing-back role. And he's actually performed quite well fantasy-wise, 142 points per game on average, which is, I guess, okay, especially given the fact that he's playing for Bochum and Heidenheim are on they're in really poor form at the moment. They've lost the last 6 Bundesliga games. So who knows? Maybe it will be time for Bochum to get their first win. Either way, I think Vitek should do well there because of his involvement for Bochum. And then finally, my premium pick is Mitchell Weiser, who was the highest scoring player last week. I also think I mentioned him there actually. His ceiling is really high, as we saw. He got nearly 400 points, and he doesn't even need to be scoring goals. I know he got an assist last week, but still 391 points. He also gets a lot of points from winning duels, for example, swinging in crosses. So another player who's just really involved for his team, and Werder playing a manageable game at home against Union Berlin. So I think should be a great pick again this week.
Yeah, completely agree. Some good picks there. Some good. Certainly the Vitek one is a differential for sure. And it'd be interesting to see what people do for one last blast at it from a transfer point of view. And if anyone does gamble on Bochum assets, you got to be headstrong to do it, but it could pay off in obviously what is a humongous game for them. Any other honourable mentions? We haven't got any questions or comments just yet, so obviously don't be shy. If you have any thoughts, anything in general, we'll absolutely come to it and get through as many questions as we can, as it's the last show before we finish up for the new year. But I see something's just come in there from David. So let's come to this, and then Rune, you can mention some honourable mentions also. So morning, David. Considered Diogo later a season-long hold before his injury. Now he is back and had 200-point game again, game week last week. Is it time to get him back in? Certainly Union strengths do lie in the defensive area, and so if we're going to consider any Union Berlin players, Rune has got to be in the defensive area really, because they ain't got much going forward.
No, that's true. But yeah, Leiter has actually been really good and performing well consistently fantasy wise. So yeah, I think he costs 9 million. And at that price, you could go with him instead of Vitek, for example. I think his floor should be higher. Usually gets just around 200 points. So you know what you're going to get from Leiter most weeks, and that's really solid. Daniel Udoki also had a really good Matchday last week. Won a lot of duels and picked up a lot of points. And I think he costs just 1 million more. So in case you want a differential from Union, then you could go with him. But Leiter is a great pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, David. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. I've had Diogo later in a few times in my team so far. I think he's still in there off the top of my head, so I think I may hold on him personally. Any other honourable mentions, Rune, before we move on to midfield?
Yeah, I think the Augsburg wingbacks, they're playing Holstein Kiel. Usually it's a good idea to target teams playing them. And Marius Wolf and Giannulis, I'd say, are both the kind of defenders you like to have fantasy-wise. They offer some things going forward and are quite involved, both of them. So I think those two could be worth getting. And then Mittelstedt, who I mentioned last week, he actually scored there and had a great game for Stuttgart. And I backed Stuttgart to get a result this week as well. Obviously, he's very expensive, but he performed well last week. So if you have some extra to spend in the defensive department, then he could be an option.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to double check on the questions that were asked on X in case they're defender specific, which I don't think they are. So I think we'll go through midfielders and then we'll come back to those. There's actually a couple that have just come in now, actually. So let's pick those up. Lawrence, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. As asked, Willi Orban had a rough match day last week. He did, yeah. Is he worth keeping against Bayern this weekend? That feels like a dangerous thing to do, Rune, but what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'll probably get someone else in. Really difficult game for Leipzig, and I think a lot of other good options. Could maybe pay 2 million more and get Weiser, or you could pay just 1 million more and get Upamecano from Bayern if you don't have him already. So I'd back him to do better than Orban if we were looking at that game. Would probably sell him.
Yeah, I think I held him 1 week too long. Maybe should have got rid. But yeah, I'll definitely be removing him. He'll be one of my transfers for sure this weekend, I reckon. Then next one in from Anthony. Good morning to you as well. Is it worth dropping some of Upamecano, Musiala or Marmoush for a differential this match week? Well, I suppose that very much depends on your need or desire, Anthony, to climb up your respective, fantasy table. If you feel that you need to try and throw one or two in there to try and climb up versus what people won't have, absolutely, would recommend possibly rotating players out. I mean, out of those three to potentially rotate out this match week, what would you reckon, Runus? I mean, three excellent players who have all had certainly their moments. Obviously, we've probably been relying more so on Musiala or Marmoush from a fantasy aspect, but what do you reckon to, Upamecano could be a strong one this week, though, as well?
Yeah, I think I'll sell Upamecano this week, but that's because of the free player from the same team rule. So I already have Perez, and I have Musiala and Upamecano, and if you want Kane, and you probably do, then you have to sell one of them, and that's why I'm actually considering selling Upamecano as good as he's been fantasy-wise. It's not an easy game for Bayern, one of the more difficult opponents. Still back them to get the win, but could see them concede against Leipzig, maybe being hit on the counter by the likes of Openda and Nusa. So I don't think Upamecano is as vital this week as Musiala and Marmoush, for example. They should have a much higher ceiling this week, whereas I think with Upamecano you can find some players who can maybe do the same job points-wise this week. The likes of Weiser, for example, is a player in the same price category who we're also back to do really well. So Musiala and Marmoush, selling one of them would be a really big gamble, also because I think the ownership percentage is much higher than Upamecano's. I'm not sure about that, but I think so. And I think they offer a higher ceiling, basically.
Yeah, they do. I suppose if you haven't already dropped Marmoush, given the fact that Frankfurt have dropped off significantly, and Marmoush has still been an ever-present danger. I suppose if you're going to do it, was it Mainz away this weekend?
Mainz at home, I think.
Mainz at home. Okay, Either way around, the Mainz team that obviously buoyant off the Bayern result and have been more reliable and certainly will offer a strong opponent. It would be interesting whether people rotate Marmoush out. But a good question there, Anthony, to pose. Right, let's move on then and concentrate on our midfielders and the picks that Rune has gone for this week. So again, shall gladly hand over to you, Rune, to walk us through these three.
Thank you. My budget pick in midfield is Alexis Claude-Maurice from Augsburg. And he's actually started on the bench recently, but he's been coming back from an injury, and I think that's the reason why. He should be back in the starting 11 against Holstein Kiel, and he's playing out of position as a striker against the league Kiel defense. So I think at 6 million, that's a really good price for a player who's a midfielder in the game, but actually playing as a striker. My mid-price pick is Paul Warner. As I said earlier, as we talked about earlier, Heidenheim are in terrible form. They got a draw last night in the Conference League. They weren't impressive there either. But as we all know, Warner is a player who's capable of doing special stuff. Also returned to the scoring sheet last week in the Bundesliga. He's coming up against a Bochum side who yet to win a game this season. So I think at 8 million, that's not a lot for a player with Werner's ability. A good option, I think, at that price. And then finally, my premium option, Enzo Mio, is not even that expensive in the game. Could have been a mid-price pick, but just wanted to mention him. Has been in good form lately, scored a lot of goals, and Stuttgart are playing at home against St. Pauli, which I think is a really good game. Should be another good game for Mio and for Stuttgart, and I think that price he offers a lot as well.
Yeah, he does. Player that I've been impressed with in the last few weeks. And someone who does have a really high ceiling. When he gets involved and when he's given the ball, he invariably will do positive things. He'll try things. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't. But a lot of the time, he's the focal point for what VfB do going forwards. So will be likely a very important player for the VfB, when we take on St. Pauli. So looking forward to that game. No other live questions just yet, so I'm going to revert back to one that was asked on X, which is an interesting one. So it's in from Greg Jenkins, another one of our lovely viewers, and he's asked whether to stick or twist with Dortmund assets. Inconsistency away from home is making me shy away, Rune. Not even their home form was enough to kind of keep them from another kind of slip up. Albeit they didn't lose the match, but Hoffenheim obviously took a creditable draw. And on the road, we just can't trust Dortmund, can we? I went in hard and on Guirassy for the Hoffenheim game, but now I'm thinking, it could be time to do the switch that many people may well be making and what we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, what are you feeling about Dortmund players? Because I do not have a strong feeling on many of them.
I was really disappointed last week about Dortmund. I also got Guirassy and Giddens as well, and I expected a lot more from them. And as we saw in the post-match interviews, they were really disappointed about themselves too. Both the players and Sahin was very critical of the performance. But yeah, we've seen them in that position quite a few times this season, where you feel like they have a good match day, they have a good fixture, and then they just don't show up. They just don't perform. So difficult to know what to expect from them. And I think at 10 million, I wouldn't mind keeping Giddens. I think I'll do that against Wolfsburg. They've conceded a lot of goals recently, so wouldn't mind keeping him. But at 19 million, Guirassy is really expensive, especially with Kane coming back. So I think that switch from Guirassy to Kane makes a lot of sense if Kane is starting tonight, and probably is. Then you just have to pay 1 million more to get Kane in. If you want to keep Guirassy and still get Kane, then you have to make a lot of sacrifices, I think, to keep the Dortmund striker, and it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because obviously we can naturally wait for the team news on Kane, and like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second. But I wonder how well the app will deal with probably a great stream of people waiting even more so for that Friday night and doing their transfers 1 hour-ish before. I can imagine they'll generate quite a lot of traffic. So fingers crossed that no one has any issues. Just before we move on, a question in from David. So is Tom Bischoff still valid as a budget pick? Thinking about having him and Alexis Claude Maurice as my 2 budget picks in this week in order to keep Wirtz and Musiala. We already know about Claude Maurice, which Rune, you've kind of covered. So that's kind of that ticked off for you, David. Bischoff, obviously young, impressive player. I must admit, because I'm slightly out of the loop with all these different bits, I can't profess to know who Hoffenheim are even playing this weekend. So I can't pass comment. So I'll gladly hand over to you, Rune, who I'm sure is much more clued up this week than I.
They're playing Gladbach at home. Sure, Bishop is still valid as a budget pick. His price at 5 million doesn't really reflect what he offers on the pitch for Hoffenheim and the kind of role he has. And that's because he's developed really well, and done much better than most people expected. So he's a real key player for Hoffenheim. And since Ilsa took over, he's been deployed in a more attacking role, which may be an advantage, but maybe he isn't as involved in the passing game as he was when he was playing as a deep line playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Still at 5 million, that's a really good player. A price for a player like Bischoff.
Yeah.
Also, Gladbach at home. I think Hoffenheim could get a result there. It's a difficult one to predict, I think.
Very.
So yeah, not too bad. I think keeping Bischoff could work out.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very tough one to pick out a clear winner there. And obviously the lads went through it last night on the prediction show. So if you haven't had your fix, make sure you tune into that on the channel as well, because there are some very tasty matches this match week. What a great way to go out before Christmas. Goal Machine has popped in a question as well. Gittins, hold or move to Mio. I mean, we can both have a stab at this, and I think we both might come up with different answers, because I probably say move to Mio myself, maybe because of my slight hint of bias, but also the Dortmund away performances just scare me, and therefore, from a fantasy aspect, I just don't trust it. But Rune, I know you've already kind of half alluded to the fact that you think you might hold on Gittins.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to get Mio as well. So,
yeah.
And I also mentioned him as my premium pick in midfield. So if I were in that situation, I wouldn't mind selling. What I was saying was just that Giddens isn't like that bad a hold against Wolfsburg. Wouldn't be that surprised if he has a good game there. But Mio is one of my favorite picks in midfield. So I'll sell in that situation.
Yeah, well, hopefully, Golem, you can either find a way to keep them both, or make a satisfactory move or transfer either way around. So yeah, thank you for those questions. Keep them coming. Whilst we move on to our final section of the show and of 2024. We will go through your final picks, Rune, for the striker position. So once more, back over to you.
Yeah, as my budget pick this week, I've picked Matthias Honsack from Heidenheim, who I think he's been one of the bright spots for them during their really poor run of results. He's kind of forced his way into the starting lineup and has been getting more playing time recently. Has scored 3 goals in his last 7 games in all competitions, and he even found the net against Leverkusen and Bayern, if I remember correctly. So a player capable of stepping up when goals are needed. And he was rested in the Conference League last night. So I think that probably means he should start this time. And as we talked about earlier, it's a really important game for Heidenheim against Bochum, a game that could probably go each way. So I think it could be worth a try at 5 million. If you trust Heidenheim to get a result. And my mid-price pick is Nick Woldemade, who's really stepped up while the likes of Undav and Touré have been out injured. He was really good last week, especially, I think, really instrumental in Stuttgart's win over Heidenheim. Also scored a penalty, so if they get a penalty again this week, then he will probably be the guy to take it. So a real informed player, and 9 million is a fairly low price if he can keep up the good work. And then finally, Harry Kane, of course. Back in full team training, so should be in the starting lineup. Bayern need to bounce back, of course. And if he's starting, then then he's a player you'd really like to have, of course.
Yeah, goes without saying, our Ari will probably be thrust back into first team football very quickly. obviously, yeah, he's had time to train. I wonder if the Mainz defeat hadn't happened, how quickly he would be pushed in. One last game before the Christmas break, kind of thing that he might have fancied a nice long Christmas. But yeah, no doubt he'll be involved in what's going to be a very big game tonight. Obviously, everyone's looking forward to it. So whether it's from, it seems like he'll be from the start. Either way round, his impact will be fairly clear. I'm sure he will, as always, have a strong impact on the match, and I'll certainly, no secret, I'll certainly be bringing him in. So thank you for those, Rune. Yeah, obviously hoping that Voltemada keeps up his fine form as well for the lads, because he's been really really good. Couple of questions, and then we'll close up for this morning show. One in from Goal Machine. To get Kane, need to sell either Marmoush or Kleindienst. Who goes there?
Yeah,
Tricky one.
yeah. I'll probably sell Kleindienst.
Yeah,
just
I'm sure that.
because, yeah, just because I think Frankfurt are playing at home. I know it's Mainz are in great form and everything, but Marmoush has been such a deciding factor for them this season. He's on free kicks, he's on penalties. He just offers so much to that Frankfurt team. So maybe just slightly back him over Kleindienst. But it's a tough one. I think Kleindienst probably has to do a lot more on his own. I think he's Frankfurt are creating a lot of chances, I think, generally, and Marmoush has some really good players around him. I think Kleindienst is probably relying a lot on the service of Frank Honorat at the moment, so he needs him to step up as well and put in some crosses for him to score. And that's why I just leaning slightly towards Marmoush.
Yeah, I was trying to debate to myself maybe which defense is more likely to leak goals, and hard to answer that question. I suppose I'd probably just about trust the Mainz defense over Hoffenheim, to be honest. But yeah, still, it's a tough shout, really. Anthony has asked, is Amora and Kleindienst worth sticking for this match week? Well, hopefully we kind of half answered the Kleindienst one. If you don't need to get rid of Kleindienst, I wouldn't necessarily force him out, to be honest. Like we said, there's still going to be great chances for him to score goals. Gladbach will be desperate to get the monkey off their back about the back-to-back wins. Hoodoo, and he, Kleindienst would be a big part of that if they can get over the line. Amora stands to reason that he can have a really positive game against anyone, especially against a possibly shaky Dortmund defense, ably assisted by that kind of front trio that Wolfsburg have been playing and have been looking really sharp at the top end of the pitch, alongside Jonas Wind. So I would probably be happy to keep Amora in just because of that fact. But Rune, you can shut me down if you want, if you would get rid.
No, I wouldn't mind keeping him either. Or probably, if you don't have Marmoush, for example, I would probably be happy to pay 1 million more and get him in instead. Just because I trust him a little more. His numbers are amazing, Marmoush. But that said, sure. Amora has been really good for Wolfsburg as well. I just think there are other strikers I'd rather have, but not a bad option at all.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. David asking, should we be getting Harry Kane back in your starting lineup be a top priority regarding transfers this week? I think it's going to be on the Christmas list of most fantasy players, given what we've been told by the legend himself, Rune, and in press conferences. obviously it stands to reason we can look at starting lineups now before and react accordingly. If he is in the starting lineup, I think a lot of people are going hard on in him to bring in, and then I think I'll be looking at one key, probably one transfer. Yeah, I'd say one transfer per position, but obviously we got a few more. We've got the 5 to use. Definitely be looking at my positioning on the defender that I mentioned earlier. But I think Kane's got to be top priority there. And then David also asking, and in order to get Kane, I have to downgrade Musiala to Kimmich or downgrade Grimaldo to Visor. Ooh.
Yeah.
I think go on, Rune, you take this one.
Is that the only? I mean, can't you do something else? Because Musiala and Grimaldo are 2 players that would really like to have as well, and their ownership is really high.
If
I
you
would
have to do one of them.
If I have to do one of them, I don't know actually.
I think
I'll probably get Kimmich in, just because instead of Musiala. He doesn't offer the same kind of ceiling, but he's been incredibly consistent in midfield for Bayern, and usually gets at least 200 points. After all, I think Visor is probably a bit more of a gamble, but I wouldn't sell Musiala or Grimaldo. I would try to find another way to get Kane in, to be honest. If you can.
If you can. We will do it. I'm sure David will do his best with that one. For what it's worth, to confuse you even more, David, I would probably go to the latter and swap out Grimaldo for Visor. But there's a reason why Rune is the expert and I'm just the host, to be honest. But there we are. Just quickly, just want to double check this one from Simon. I forgot to ask earlier during the defender section of the show, thoughts on Mittelstädt or even Bernardo. Used to be great on Jules. Maxi, for the fixture, stands to reason that he'd be a good pick. Obviously, Rune, you mentioned him last week, produced the goods, and was heavily involved. Hopefully, one more ask and outing for him would be, I think a strong punt. Really, and well, it's not even a punt really. He should be involved a lot in the match. VfB should have a lot of the ball. There should be plenty of crosses coming into the box for Demi and Voltemada to maybe make the most of. I think he'd be a strong shout. Rune, what do you reckon on Bernardo?
Could actually be a good option. I can't remember his price. I already mentioned Vitek, who's a different type of defender in the game, relying a lot more on attacking involvement and crosses and so on. Whereas Bernardo, very true, is an old fan favorite, fantasy-wise, player who we know can do well in terms of winning duels. So actually a good alternative if you back Bochum to get a result. I think he could do quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that one as well, Lawrence. So, no more questions, and I think timing-wise, this is pretty much bang on perfect. All there really is left to say is just thank you to everyone for enjoying this show in particular. Obviously, if you can leave a like on this one, the last one for 2024. Let's get a load of likes on it. That'd be fantastic. If obviously you've not been able to watch live and you've left a question or a comment, again, me and Rune will do our best to foray through any of those pre the 7:30 UK time kickoffs or kickoff tonight. Make sure you sub. Obviously, we'll be going through Match Week 15 on Monday night. Hopefully, be a great show and the very, very last show of 2024. Just want to take a second to say personal thanks to everyone that tunes in with us and enjoys the Bundesliga fantasy football. game, and what we do is a great deal of fun. But at the end of the day, very much couldn't do it without yourself, Rune. So absolute legend for another year of service to Bundesliga fantasy football. You've been fantastic, and so just want to say thank you to everyone. Let's go even stronger in 2025. Looking forward to being back when we are. But hope everyone has a safe a merry festive period. And we'll see you again on Monday. But thanks to all, and enjoy the footy. Thanks all. Cheers, Rune.
Yeah, guys.